Hello everyone, and welcome back to Misfits Racing League action. It is time for the Endurance Series, and it is round 12. Of course, normally we would be following the Formula 1 calendar, but because it is, of course, Algarve, the it's Portimao for this weekend, and we don't have that in F1 2020, do we, Unicorn?
No, we don't. It's a little bit of a shame, but what we do have is Australia and the Melbourne Grand Prix circuit. So I think either way, we're going to be very entertained, regardless of what track we're on. These 100% endurance races are always an exciting prospect. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it as always.
Now, one thing here I will take a moment to mention. There is going to be a little bit of frame drop at the beginning of the stream, but it is going to fix itself, I do believe, by the end of qualifying. So bear with us here, because we are going to do our best to give you a cast for this one, because, we had the Endurance Series last week, and then we had one a few weeks before that where we didn't have the broadcast. So we are going to be trying our best to get you that broadcast. So bear with us. There may be a little bit of lag at the beginning. It's kind of fluctuating, and, it is what it is, as Sebastian Vettel said today in the qualification. Now, we are going to be jumping into a 100% distance race here. You can see vehicle damage is on reduced, corner cutting is on regular. I am very excited for this race. You and I talked about it a little bit at the end of Club yesterday. It's going to be a lot of fun to see these drivers go the distance around Albert Park.
Yeah, and I think what's going to be interesting about this as well is with those reduced corner cutting stringency, I think that we're going to see Albert Park here opened up a little bit more to what it's like, a little bit more in real life with turn 5, obviously 11 and 12, the curb usage there. I'm sure we're going to see everyone push the limits there. But I think this reduced corner cutting is going to really benefit Australia a little bit more than it maybe would other circuits. But yeah, I think Australia is the perfect circuit to have reduced corner cutting on, and I'm excited to see what sort of results it yields.
Okay, we're just waiting. Sorry for the delay on my end here. We're just waiting to get all the drivers in, waiting for everyone. We have a few drivers that have checked in that are not yet here. We're going to do our best to get you as many racers on this grid for the 100% endeavor. One thing I wanted to talk about is the fact that if you join the Misfits Discord and you want to race in a division like the Endurance Series or anything, you're more than welcome to do so. This is a Misfits event. It's first come, first serve. We had Cactus with us last week, Unicorn, in Suzuka. The first time he had participated in any kind of league set, endeavor, and he absolutely killed it. He finished the race. You know what I mean? We've had guys come through, they don't finish the race. It's 100%. It's long, they may be down and out, but Cactus, I'll say he had a difficult race, but he finished it, and that's what we love to see, of course, while we're waiting to get more drivers into the lobby. I do believe we have just about 15 at present. I think some people may be struggling to get in here as well.
Yeah, I've seen this, we've seen this for the past week or so, the Codemasters game. Some people have to restart its extra, so whether we're waiting on that or not. But yeah, like you said, Cactus last week. When your first race is a 100% race and you're throwing yourself off in pretty much the deepest of the deep end, and it's worth mentioning as well, just because these are open to the Misfits community, that means that everyone is open to join it, including these guys from Tier 1, Club, EU. So Cactus has thrown himself into a 100% race with some very, very fast people, and like you said, finishing the race means he beat a fair few of those fast people as well. So I'll have to see what he can pull out the bag this week alongside everyone else here around Albert Park.
Yeah, there was a few drivers that didn't finish that race, and it was really, really good for him to get in there, to get that race finished off. And that's his first full race finish under his belt, and I do believe he's joining us again today for this race.
He is.
So he will be once again joining Yoda in the McLaren under their pseudo their pseudo flag. Of course, Yoda and Cactus, they are both from Albania, so no Albanian flag in the game. Once again, I'll bring it up, but they are representing North Korea in the race today in protest. So we'll see how that goes for their race. What a bunch of jokesters. Now, of course, if you are tuning in before we get racing here, it's going to be very intense through this quali. We have quite the fast grid. Get your friends in, get the popcorn, get the drinks. It's a Saturday evening. Of course, ahead of a Formula 1 race tomorrow as well. I'm quite excited for that. And, well, it's a ton of racing action happening right now.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how Portimao goes tomorrow. I know the drivers wanted the slightly altered setup of the track, but they didn't get their way, and turn 1 is apparently the best overtaking spot, but it's going to be a little bit more difficult, apparently. And I think we are just about ready to get underway here.
Alrighty.
So, just waiting on the confirmation that we're not waiting on anyone else. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we're out. But yeah, ready to get underway. I'm very excited to see tomorrow's race. But what we have right now is a 100% endurance race, and we are indeed ready to get going. So I'll put the message out, and we will get everyone readied up here.
Fantastic. Definitely fantastic stuff there. And we are going to have 15, I believe, drivers racing here around Albert Park. Now, 15 drivers. Let's take a look at who is on this grid. Even before we get into quali here, we'll have a look. We have Freeware, BTFU, Swifty, Cactus, as we were just talking about. iFelipe is on the grid today. Yoda, Relapse, Wisp, Cotters, Rackety, XTXP's back, Astrodite, Remco Van Puten's here, Yasko, and Microlander on the grid. And I have to say, that's a pretty quick grid. That's a very, very quick grid.
Yeah, there are a lot of very experienced, well-versed drivers here in Australia. If these guys are in, any of the grids on MRL and grids elsewhere as well, they will have put in plenty of time around this track in the game. It's obviously the first on the calendar. Whether they have fully remembered, everything, and also the reduced corner cutting changes the line slightly, and sometimes a lot, depending on the corner. But yeah, pretty much everyone on this grid will have put in a decent amount of time into this track at some point during the new game.
18 minutes. Is 18 minutes... We had this discussion, I think it was the other day. 18-minute qualifying, right? You have that 18 minutes, and then you're driving for an hour and a half. It's just such a short period to get things set. Of course, the full qualifying, perhaps a little bit too long for these drivers, because, of course, in real Formula 1, they have the full qualifying the day ahead of the race. These drivers not too keen to do it ahead of the race. I imagine that would be a lot of anticipation as well, and pressure. Just sitting there wondering, am I in? Am I out? Did I make it in?
Yeah, and sleeping on that result as well, regardless of whether it's good or bad. If you're on pole, you're going to be going to bed very happy, wake up the next day, you're like, I'm on pole. And then you put a lot of pressure on yourself. You're on pole, you've got to translate that. But if you've got a disappointing result, then you've got to sleep on that as well and spend a lot of time with that result. Whereas here, whatever happens, happens. You can't dwell on it for too long because you've got a loading screen and a formation lap, and then you're straight into the racing action.
Yeah, and speaking of straight into racing action here, Unicorn, it's going to be the Williams iFelipe, who we have known to be very, very fast. the first driver out of the pit lane here, and he will be the first driver to jump on in for a flyer.
Yeah, and this is where we're going to fully get to see the track limits put to good use in qualifying. Obviously, this is where you want to just go as fast as possible. You want to push these boundaries. And it's going to be Felipe. I want to see what 11 and 12 is like with these reduced corner cutting. Obviously, the curbs here, there's a lot that you can use. And it's this 12 here, and that's not an invalidation, so there is a lot of curb that you can use. And I do believe we are able to get a 16th driver here in the form of Gorzieg.
Yeah, he has been given the all clear, so Gorzieg going to jump into racing action here as well, bringing us to 16 drivers. Of course, if any of the Misfits Racing League drivers are available and wish to race, please let Unicorn know, and he will get you into the equation. And here we go on board now with the Williams coming down through turn 1, utilizing that inside. Looks like Fraser has joined us as well here.
Yeah, a couple of quick guys joining, puts us up to 17. And obviously more the merrier.
Now, yeah, I was just going to say, Felipe, we're about to enter through into probably one of the most action-packed sections of circuit we're going to see here in this one. As he exits through into Sector 3 now, this is the 11-12 high-speed chicane. And this is where, if anyone's going to lose it, that's where it's going to happen there. Fraser is in.
I think today we might see a little less of that because of these... Because you're allowed to use all of that curb. No one's going to be worried about getting that track limit warning by taking a little bit too much, considering you can basically just run over it. So, whilst I think we will see it, I think that we'll sit a little less than usual as Felipe. It's a 126. 120.6, I should say.
50 behind him. BTFU, actually, excuse me, was the Red Bull on the rear of him, as Cotters has crossed a 122.281 for the Ferrari. Freeware goes fastest here so far. A 119.757 Unicorn. He has been the first to crack into the 119s.
That Cactus as well, a 121.6.
Very nice from the McLaren as well.
We've got Relapse. He's about to cross the line as well. He's on for a pretty strong time, it looks like. 121.2. So, a little bit of variation right now. Rackety. He jumps just behind his team at 121.5.
BTFU on a flyer now.
XTXP, a 121 flat. And BTFU coming in through the final sector, coming towards the penultimate corner, turn 15. Pretty tight, left-hander into this sort of misguided right-hander. You've got to be so careful on the throttle coming down to the line. BTFU on the medium compound tyres. He sets a 121.3, which puts him just between the two Mercedes, splitting them. But he is on that harder compound tyre, so it'll be interesting to see where he's coming. We don't always see the medium tyres used in qualifying here in the Endurance Series. Now, Wisp, he's coming up to that 11-12. Tricky sort of chicane, but he's got wing damage on that Ferrari. So he's still managed to navigate it, but is he going to continue this lap? There's only a missing end plate on the left-hand side of his front wing. But into the final sector. Around the penultimate corner, and he is going to come into the pit lane, get that wing changed as quick as possible.
Not much that he can do with that wing damage there, Unicorn. Fraser now, who joined the session with, well, only a few minutes dented into the quali. He's just set a purple sector 1 in that Alpha Tower. He's partnering Freeware for this one. Gazieg has jumped into the grid as well. He's there in 10th on the timing tower. He'll be looking to set a lap. Of course, not entirely sure. We've seen it throughout the season with these late joiners in quali, whether or not they'll actually get a slot where they qualified, because we've seen drivers get launched to the back of the grid. There's Fraser coming through the 11-12 chicane. Now, one thing to talk about, you'll see in this race, in comparison to the other Misfits Racing League races and divisions and things like that, in the endurance series, and we always talk about it, it's regular corner cutting. So you're going to see these drivers take a little bit more liberty with the circuit. It's a long race. They want to have fun, and we're here to provide that for them. So regular corner cutting, it's reduced damage, and I think that he just may have been lucky as a result of that. He had a brush with the wall. There's Fraser going P3.
I reckon that could have been at least P2 if he hadn't hit the wall there, because that's going to brush some speed off. But yeah, we've seen a few bug fixes talking about the getting relegated to the back, so fingers crossed Fraser does start this race wherever he qualifies. The same with Gorzieg as well.
Swifty now flying in the Red Bull. He's coming through 11-12, and he's taking it pretty well how you'd see most people take it on a strict corner cutting setting. And in most circuits, the strict corner cutting and following through the circuit in that sense is probably the most optimal way to race the circuit without looking like a complete idiot blowing through turns. Now, Swifty coming through the penultimate turn. What is it going to be from him? There's Yasko in the Alfa Romeo pulled off to the inside.
119.7. So you can see that, like you said, despite the fact that he hasn't taken quite as much of the inside curving through 12 as Fraser did, he still managed to beat that timeout. So still very capable of scoring some good points and qualifying high up this grid if you are, sticking to the more traditional lines. You got to remember that's what they put the practice in as well. In those previous races I mentioned earlier, they're going to practice hard to nail these lines. So a lot of it's going to be muscle memory as well.
Yeah, for sure. Remco Van Putten coming out of the final turn now to the line. The Haas, the first time for him. It's a 120.1, and Remco Van Putten is a driver that you and I have seen do quite a bit of battling here around Australia. We saw it in Club Division, or CFR as it was known then. Of course, with his super iconic, rival, we'll say, in Alex Bitto. But Alex Bitto not on the grid today. I think it's the first Endurance Series race that Alex Bitto has not been a part of. He is here in a engineering capacity, though. Technical difficulties, we'll say, keeping him out of this one. But still able to kind of bring his buds to try and get some podiums in here. So I think he's just sitting in the Misfits Discord for hire as an engineer right now.
Yeah, that's always an interesting dynamic. He's here in the chat. I know he's watching the stream, so he's going to be clued in, and those he's helping are going to be have a little bit of a leg up, but we always encourage it. It's an exciting aspect and makes it a little bit more realistic. Obviously, maybe not race engineering for the 6 people I think he's helping right now, but
Astrodite with a big cut into the grass there, coming through the chicane on an outlap. He spotted Wisp, who's flying in the Ferrari. He's coming down through into turn 13. He's got these medium compound tires on, which is very interesting to see. We've got a couple drivers in the top of this grid right now. Well, I'll say Felipic. He qualified that 120.1 on mediums. It was BTFU who did a 121.3 on mediums. What's it going to be for Wisp? He comes down through. Exiting now the pit straight. It's a 121.843 from him. Let's take a look at the gap to leader on this grid. You have Freeware, pole position, a 119.362, all the way down to P7 is a second. And as I said, we have a little bit of a difference in tire strategy here. Some of the drivers struggling on the circuit, as we say. Wisp coming out through turn 4, or turn 3, excuse me.
And it appears we've had our first incident through turn 12, XTXP. I didn't catch what happened, but pointing the wrong way in the DRS opening section after that corner. So he's been the first one that I've caught stumbling through there. I say that as Who is that? Remco Van Putten is now spinning himself around.
Fraser is about to cross the line to begin a flyer. Just looked in on Astrodate, who we saw pull off a lap ago. We'll take a look in with him as he comes down through the straight into turn 13. There's Remco on the inside. Yellow flag popping up. The two Haas drivers behind the Renault. You have the two Ferraris ahead of him. Cotters and Wisp. I do believe Wisp is on his way into the pit lane. Cotters could be finishing a lap, though. No, he's joining him. Here we come. There goes Astrodate. A 120.6 out of the Renault. That's good for P8 at the moment. We still have 5.5 minutes remaining here in the session. Gazieg coming down through turn 1. Has not set a lap yet in the session. There's no energy deployment coming out of that car either. Very interesting to see that. Rackety flying through Sector 2. He's up a 10th.
Fraser, he's flying and doing pretty well as well. Fastest Sector 2. And he'll be looking to be a little bit more successful. He hasn't clipped the gravel through 14. Is he going to clip the wall through 16? No, he's not. So I think we're going to see a definite improvement here. It's a 119.6, 3/10 shaved off. That's third place for the AlphaTauri for the time being.
Rackety, massive improvement there. Nearly 8.5 tenths from him. It's good for P9. Things are getting tighter in the grid, and there is a significant amount of DRS at play here coming through Sector 3 and down that pit straight, so we'll have to see how that plays a role for these racers. Gazieg now, he's utilizing that energy. We'll see if he comes through into the pit lane or if he carries on through on this lap, and he is going to carry on through. DRS on the rear now, wide open for the Haas. What is the time going to be? It's going to be quite a long lap from him, a 127.4.
Yeah, definitely going to go again. He was very late in joining this race, so maybe not putting the practice, maybe not intending to be here as he goes very deep into turn 3, but nothing that can't be recovered, I don't think. He hasn't got long left in the session. Whether we'll see him round out this lap or not, we'll have to wait and see.
So calm before the storm for these drivers here. Everyone now on out laps. Microlander is about to begin in the Renault. We're going to jump on board with him as he is the only active driver flying. Unless Gazieg started another lap, but I don't know.
Well,
I'll check in with him in a second here. Is he?
He's been on this ERS deployment, but like I said, he seems to have been struggling a little bit throughout this lap. But I'm not sure. He very well could. It would be an improvement, provided he makes it to the finish line. But I wouldn't be surprised to see him come into the pits, have one last tyre change, and go back out.
We'll have to take a look here. He's coming down through the penultimate turn. He's holding on to that inside, and it is going to be a trip to the pit lane for the Haas. Let's jump back on with Microlander, as he will be the next across with a new lap time here. The only lap time I think he's going to have an opportunity to set, Unicorn. So he better not any massive mistakes. As I say it, quite clean coming through 11-12 here onto the straight into turn 13. DRS wide open. Now shutting as he makes his way through the right-hander. A little bit of a slip there on the curbing as we make our way through 14. On the inside, outside. Turn 15 now. Now through the final turn of 16, a little bit of a wave coming from the steering wheel. See how we go though. It is good for P10 on the medium compound tires. The only other driver to beat out that, to get into the top 10 on mediums, Unicorn, it's Ifilipic in 5th for the Williams.
Yeah, and I was just riding on board with Remco, who was also flying, who's just spun it again, coming through turn 12. But yeah, Ifilipic, we've seen him be very fast in the past. And if he does decide to start this race on the medium tyres, he could be a very interesting dynamic come the first pit window.
Cotters in the Ferrari now is about to finish a lap to perhaps improve. No, not an improvement from the Ferrari. Here we go with Remco. He's up, coming through sector 2. Nope, that was a complete lie from the sector times for me there.
Yeah, it's gonna be an interesting time for him because he might have some very warm rear tires. He did cool them down a bit, but after that spin through turn 12, I wonder if we'll see him be a little bit more cautious through there this time around.
A lot of drivers on flyers at the moment. And what has happened with Fraser?
Fraser's had a big off, but he's just sort of driven over the corner. He's not continuing the lap. It's not an invalid lap, but he was very much in the grass. He was up on his sector 1 time though.
So many drivers on flyers right now. It's hard to pick who's going to be coming across the line next. I think Yoda and Cactus both on out laps right now. Let's take a look on over with the Ferraris. There's one coming through here. No, it's Cotters. So he is going to be coming across to take the checkered flag. No improvement.
Remco, he's rounding the final corner and he's on for a big improvement if his split time through sector 2 is to be believed.
Oh, well, that is a massive improvement indeed, Unicorn. It's pole position coming from the Dutchman. It's a 1:19.255. Very quick from him. A 10th ahead of Freeware. Freeware is also flying at the moment.
Yeah, really putting us as BTFU seems to have ended this session for himself a little bit prematurely. His front left wheel completely severed from the vehicle.
Well, that is unfortunate for him, of course. Wisp crosses into P8, a 1.5 second improvement from him. Now, I'm not entirely sure if Cotters is flying at the moment.
Ooh, Cactus just tapped the wall coming out of 15. So Cotters, well, he's certainly going to finish the lap out. And he does a nice little spin for us as well.
XTX speed across the line now. It is an improvement of 0.7 for him. He's into the top 10.
Felipic, he's on for an absolutely stunning lap time as well. The Williams coming down towards the line. It's a 1:19.1.
Ooh, very tight for them. That's 0.06 of a second ahead of the Dutchman for Felipic in that Williams. Freeware is not going to be coming across on another lap.
And he's just been demoted another place by Yoda.
Yeah, Yoda cross P3 there, 1:19.264 from him. That's 100th off of where Remco is, and Rackety just says, I'm done with this qualifying. And I think he might have hit a pebble on the road there, spinning him out of control. I know Rackety all about those pebbles.
Well, there we are. That is qualifying. Done and dusted, and this is where the real drama begins.
Yeah, most definitely. Look at that grid. It's very, very tight indeed, especially at the front of the equation. Felipic there. Pole position for the Williams, a 1:19.195, blistering from him. Remco 600ths precisely off of him. And there's Yoda, who is 9 milliseconds behind Remco. 9 milliseconds. That's massive. And, well, not massive. The opposite. It's minuscule. It's like, you know, it's a hair. Not even. Freeware right there in 4th. Fraser in 5th. We'll go down through the rest of the 17 drivers to go racing on the formation lap.
Remco and Yoda's time. I didn't realize they were quite that close, but when you get into this and you see that difference between the two, I think it would be quite exciting seeing those two go toe to toe throughout the next hour and a quarter or so.
I don't think every single one of these drivers got in their optimal run either. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this 100% distance endeavor plays out. I'm so excited for Albert Park here. I thoroughly enjoy watching the race around here. But 100% distance, we've seen it. You can be the fastest driver, okay? But at the end of these races, what it comes down to is consistency. And the guys that have won these can definitely tell you, at the end of them, they need to go for a shower because they've just sweated off a few pounds, because it's concentration. It's crazy for these. You need to be so consistent, especially when the grid is tight.
Yeah, especially we had this exact thing last week with Suzuka, and you've just got trains of people, and when you're under that constant pressure, you've got someone in front of you that you're trying to get past, and you've got someone behind you you're trying to stop from getting past. It takes a lot of attention, and 50% is, no mean feat on itself. 45 minutes or so of concentration takes it out of you a little bit, and then double that, we got 58 laps around here. It is a lot on these drivers. And you put that saying, to finish first you have to finish. Definitely true in these 100% races.
Oh yeah, 58 laps around here. Now, one key thing to note before we go down through this grid, I just want to take note. Microlander and Yasko are the only two drivers that opted for medium compound tires outside of the top 10. That's very interesting to me, because tires in Australia can be quite tricky.
Yeah, they do scale with the 100%, so whether these guys just put in that practice and think the softs are just very viable in the 100%.
It's a predicted 2-stop or 3-stop at the minimum here in Albert Park for these soft runners. Could be a potential 1-stop for a driver on the medium such as Microlander and Yasko, and that's something that you love in these 100% races, is the strategy elements that come into play for a 50% or a 25%. Usually they're pretty clear cut, especially in the 25% cases. These 100% races have provided us with a completely different dynamic of racing because the tires go longer. It's so fun to watch. And the safety cars, even with the reduced damage, we've had safety cars in these races. Albert Park, 11-12 high-speed chicane, no stranger to safety cars. So buckle up.
Yeah, and our resident race engineer, Alex Biddo, saying soft, medium, soft should be the best strat. So I expect we'll see that out of a multiple of these races as well. We've got no reason to celebrate. It appears they fixed the joining late qualifying bug. Fraser in P5 and Gorzieg in 16th, so not relegated to the back of this grid.
Yeah, that's fantastic to see. Of course, one last time before we go racing, Filipic on pole position, Remco Van Putten there in second. That's Yoda in third. Freeware and Fraser 4-5 for the AlphaTauri squad. We have Swifty in 6th. Astrate 7th here. We have Relapse in 8th. That's Wisp in 9th. XTXP in the Racing Point in 10th on this grid. And I'm not going to get to go through the rest of it. We're ready to go here, Unicorn. Let's go racing around Albert Park. 5 red lights on here. The engines are revving. And we are about to go racing in Melbourne. The Williams of Filipic away. And it is a very good start for Freeware. He's already on the very, very hard inside of this one. Things are going so tight for him. Holding up this grid right now. Position changes have been up and down for everybody. Remco Van Putten holding on to second right now. He's under threat. It's the two AlphaTauris wheel to wheel coming down through turn 3. Ooh,
yeah,
there's still wheel to wheel.
Relapse have had issues.
Fraser's had to run off there. Freeware in 4th position. Position changes haven't moved in the top 5, but throughout this grid, Relapse, XTXP, they've dropped a significant amount as Swifty and Wisp are having an exchange, and that is Rackety looking at them as well.
Yeah, Wisp around the outside now, up the inside. The Ferrari really putting the lunge on Swifty, and he's going to cost himself not only the position back to Swifty, but to Rackety as well. Like you said, just watching and waiting. But they're not done. This train going into 11-12. Wisp had to back out a little bit.
Wow, that was some very intense driving right there. Big payment for Wisp there. Gazieg now ahead of Yasko coming into 13, and I'm not entirely sure what's gone on with Yasko's wing. but he dropped like a stone to Wisp there. Now things have really picked up in the front of this field. Ifalipich has started to fly away. A 129.3 the first lap from him right now. Yoda sticking with Remco, and as Ifalipich may have ran away from these guys, the train is massive down this grid as we expected it to be, and DRS hasn't even come into play yet. Yasko and Relapse jumping into the pit lane for some early repairs, and that's always thrown a wrench in these races as well. The 100% distance, the drivers don't feel too bad if they have to come in super early because they know that they'll have a good amount of time to pick up the pace if they've got it to try and catch up to the grid.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yasko's gone for those hards, but Relapse onto the medium, so I think Relapse expects to do 2 more pit stops, whereas I think Yasko trying to just eke it out into a set of mediums towards the middle of this race.
Yoda just sticking real well with Remco here. The 2 Alpha Tauris breathing down his neck. Take a look at Microlander. He's hunting down Wisp. Wisp has sat himself in P9 where this race began, and he hasn't moved, so he's doing well to hold station with the rest of the top 5 deadlocked where they began. DRS now is about to get enabled as we cross the line here.
I think Wisp could have been a bit higher as he has some sort of issue around the final corner, going very wide, and that's the Renault of Microlander saying thank you very much. It's breezing by him. Similar story with Cactus. He's just got past Codders for P11 as Fraser and Ashlite. Fraser dropping like a stone. He's lost to Ashlite and Swifty down in the run towards turn 3. A lot of position changes coming now, and we've got DRS as well. You see that coming out of turn 12 as that's Remco Van Putten into the wall. Just slamming it out of turn 6 through 7.
Microlander's having a look up the inside now. Remco not going to be able to recover too well, but he has no damage. He gets himself back into P8 as it looked like Microlander had that move done. Remco says, no, I need to get back to where I was, excuse me. Ifalipich has absolutely flown away from this grid. So I imagine he's having the time of his life in that cockpit right now. Probably has a little bit of a cartoon on in the dash or something like this, as his speed is clear at the moment, but of course safety cars, yellow flags, and things as such can play a role in where that lands him. Now he has gotten so far ahead of this grid. Should there be a safety car in the backfield, he is going to be the loser out of that equation.
Yep, and it's Microlander retaking that position from Remco. Both had DRS, but it's the Renault who's ahead, but coming through turn 2, Remco with an excellent drive around the outside. Those soft tyres are still very much in full swing. And he's got the traction around the outside down into turn 3. You can just see he's able to hold that inside line.
Wisp is looking at the Renault now on the inside coming through turn 5. The Ferrari gets it done. Very, very nice. Just taking advantage of a good situation there was Wisp, and Microlander, the moves cost him.
You know, I think these soft tyres, the thing you got to remember is they're going to stay a lot more viable for a lot longer than they would in a traditional league race, because like I said, they scale with the race, all the tyres do. So where we're used to seeing these tyres last no more than really 15 laps at any given track, here they could last for a fair bit longer, as Swifty gets very close to the rear of Astrodite.
Yeah, we've
through
been
turn 13
on board with this, watching as Swifty's been hunting down this Renault, and Swifty very tight to those rear tires as we come through the final turn now. He is going to have DRS. Astrodite with no DRS on the driver ahead of him. Look at the carry of speed out of this Red Bull. He is through. Fraser has the front row seat to all of this. Astrodite with a dip in the gravel now. Onto the inside curb coming through turn 2. Fraser is looking to inherit positions just the same. Wisp has caught up with Remco, and that train is still in full force as Microlander lost out last lap. Will we see anything happen coming through Sector 2 now? This is where we saw Wisp get the maneuver done on the Renault. Microlander on those medium compound tires on a completely different strategy. He will end up, I imagine, somewhere near the front of this grid on the strategy he's on, depending on how things go. And we've had a yellow flag. That's XTXP with a massive amount of damage on that front left unicorn. He is in 15th position.
Yeah, I think Microlander here, as he gets a good run out of turn 10, needs to realize that this battle, whilst yes, right now he doesn't want to be held up, but he's not really being held up by Wisp here, as we've got his teammate Astrodite's had an issue coming through turn 12. We knew that it was going to be a hot spot already. 5 laps in, he's become the first casualty of that corner, and he's down out of the points.
Not gonna be thrilled about that is Astrodite for sure. We were talking about that chicane ahead of this race.
Yeah, you got to be careful through there. But Microlander, speaking of being careful, needs to be mindful of his tires. This isn't his battle. He needs to preserve them. He'll overtake Wisp as soon as those tires in front of him drop off. He just needs to stay within that DRS range and keep himself hooked to the rear of that Ferrari. And speaking of Ferraris, BTFU's just overtaken one down the start-finish straight. He's up into 13th place ahead of Codders.
Real quick, as we've got a little bit of a lull in the race, I just want to address some of the wonderful questions we've had in the chat about the damage, things like this. Now, the damage in the Endurance Series, it's on reduced. It's a 100% distance race, and the corner cutting is on regular. The reason being, well, we want the drivers to have a good time. We want them to have fun. Now, assists across the MRL. You have the ERS assist, the DRS assist, the pit assist, all those basic things, the one-on-one, the 101 stuff, that's all disabled. Of course, the drivers not utilizing brake assist, they have the ability to use line, traction settings as they please, because, look, racing's about one thing and one thing alone, being fast. And if you're fast like Remco is right here on the inside, down into 13, you're going to get the move done, whether you have assists on or not. It's about speed, and, well, you know what? If somebody with assists is faster than you with no assists, well, go faster. GG. Let's go and take a look at how things are panning out for Microlander. He's been hunting down these drivers quite a lot. Wisp in 8th.
Yeah, these guys still in this DRS train, and this is exactly where Microlander needs to be. Just, like I said, just needs to stay in this DRS range, but Wisp, he doesn't want to stay here. He wants to try and get past. We've already seen him make a few excellent moves, and a few haven't worked out, but he's ready and waiting. And Rackety looking at the rear of Remco Van Putten, who's already had a pretty big collision with the wall.
Taking a look at Ghazi real quick there. BTFU has dispatched him into turn 3. Let's look at Swifty. He's within a second of Fraser. We're going to jump back into the train now as Microlander around the outside of Wisp in a very unorthodox place is going to fight and fight and fight, and around the outside now. Is he going to get the move done? What's the switchback like for Wisp here? He gets a little bit of contact. He gets locked up with the wheels of Microlander in that Renault. Yellow flag popping up through there, but it is going to be the move done after some very tight racing for Microlander. There goes Remco Van Putten with a massive issue coming out of 11-12. Rackety was on board as we saw him cut through. Remco is not going to be thrilled about that. No safety car, no VSC. Does he have damage? No damage for him either. He is beyond lucky.
Yeah, Wisp had an issue through turn 6, just got a little bit too much curve, got a little bit unsettled. That was what put Microlander side by side with him, and now Microlander up into 6th place. We've got Swifty into the pits, who's got wing damage. And now Microlander up into 6th place, like you were saying. This strategy is going to carry him into the higher positions on this grid, and we're now on lap 8, and you can see that his tyres are starting to become a little bit more competitive with the softs in terms of pace, and also you got to bear in mind they're going to last a hell of a lot longer as well.
Microlander, he has got these mediums. He's been battling. He's got no damage. Of course, the reduced damage, I think, playing well for a lot of these drivers, giving them a little bit of a sigh of relief when they check their MFD here. Microlander being on the long run with these mediums, Rackety doesn't stand a chance as soon as those tires drop off of the cliff, if you will. Look at the speed that Microlander's carrying. Are we going to see it through the chicane? No, that's suicide, but we are going to see a great exit, I imagine. In comparison, look at the DRS now. It's coming online here. Rackety with a little bit of a slip off of that outside 12 curbing. Rackety moves to defend off the Renault. He knows he's got to really do something here, but that defensive move has cost him. Tight, tight, tight now coming through turn 14 into turn 15. Who's in on this? That's Remco, who has been really looking to fight back with this the entire race. And Microlander is, I am sure, sick and tired of seeing that rear wing. Remco now on Rackety. Isn't going to give Rackety the same excuse. He's around the outside through, straight out in front of that Mercedes. And this is going to expose Rackety even more. Is Microlander going to get it done? Wheel to wheel coming down through turn 3. The Mercedes on the inside. Things are tight. He's going to have the outside coming through turn 4 now, through turn 5. Is he going to hold this? It's so tight between these two. And there goes Microlander, and he gets the move done for now. Wow.
Yeah, you can see, like I was saying, that traction on that Renault is now starting to kick in. He's got the advantage, whereas when he was battling Wisp before, he didn't have the advantage. He now does, but Remco needs to be a little careful, I think, coming through 11-12. He is trying to take so much of that curbing because of these reduced stringency on the corner cutting rules. But he's putting himself in some big risks.
Sorry to interrupt you there. Unicorn Astrodite has a target in sight. That's Cactus in the McLaren in P9 right now. I imagine Astrodite wants to double his current point count. Here we have it, the DRS, the outside move, and the great slip of overspeed coming down through into turn 13. That is the move locked down for the Renault. Freeware has blinked. He has jumped into the pit lane now. He is the first of the front runners to do so. Looking for the undercut. He's jumping onto the medium tires here.
Yeah, these guys, the mediums now coming onto Freeware. This is what is going to make this interesting. We've seen Microlander. He's got the advantage right now in terms of traction, it seemed, when battling one-to-one with these other drivers. And Alex Bitter in the chat, our race engineer, as Remco gets very, very wobbly out of turn 4. I think these soft tyres are pretty much done for on Freeware. Might be going for a nice undercut.
Freeware coming out in P11 on those medium compound tires, and he has this big sea of red ahead of him on our timing tower. The only driver that isn't in that equation is Microlander, who has been looking to pick up the pieces from Remco Van Putten this entire race so far. We're here only on lap 10. It is a long one. It is 100%, of course, and we're happy to have you here tuning in. My name's Stryfium from the UK. It is, of course, Unicorn, and, well, thank you so much for being here.
Microlander had a big slide through turn 12. He's caught it, but
Freeware.
Speaking of people with big slides...
Oh, no. Freeware comes in. He gets onto the mediums. Tires aren't up to temperature, and he flies through out of turn 12, and that is his race done and dusted. Oh,
I'll tell you, his race isn't done and dusted, though. Wisp, Astrodite, not Cactus. They're coming in under the same VSC. It's only Wisp and Astrodite taking advantage, which surprises me, but Freeware saw the opportunity to undercut. Why wouldn't you take the advantage of the VSC that's going to slow everyone down a little bit? Obviously, the likes of iFelipic way past the pit lane, but very, very interesting to see a few people omitting that opportunity.
Wow. Wow. Just want to take a quick moment to thank everybody who's followed us along for the stream. Greatly appreciate all of the support as always here for this VSC. I cannot believe that Freeware did that. I can't believe it. DRS back enabled. We're back to green flag racing. BTFU tight to the rear of Cactus right now. Into this hunt for P7. Microlander as well. Hunting down Remco Van Putten, and Rackety is in that as well on the rear in P6. And these three have just been doing the dance this entire race long. Let's take a look at the position changes here. In this one, we've got another yellow flag. Who's this? Remco Van Putten has had another issue yet. Oh, it's again for the Dutchman. You hate to see it. Does he have damage? We haven't seen him take damage yet. It looks like he's missing the front left end plate. Yes, he has finally taken some damage.
His teammate Gauzy's done it as well, but he's out of the race.
Oh my days. Is that going to be a safety car here in this one, Unicorn? We're here on lap 12. Yellow flag is still up. Nothing doing just yet. Relapse is coming through. Oh, man.
Oh, I said Remco needed to be careful, and it appears neither of the Haas heeded the warning, as Remco takes 5 seconds for speeding in the pit lane. So that's now 2 casualties in 2-3 laps between for turn 12, with Remco being almost a very close third, but managing to get a new front wing and some fresh mediums.
I can't believe that. That's absolutely wild. Absolutely wild. Let's take a look at Wisp. Wisp, as Alex Bido has clearly pointed out here, is going for a soft medium unicorn. He's jumped onto another set of softs. He's 8.6 and climbing away from BTFU here. BTFU and all of the drivers ahead of him yet to pit in this race. Wisp is trying something very, very interesting here. BTFU is dropping off of Cactus ahead.
Yeah, well, Wisp, Alex Bido will know all about his strategy. He is one of those drivers that has the advantage of a real person being their engineer rather than just Jeff, so a little bit more insight into what's going on in this race.
Wow.
Yeah, Wisp, look at the gap. He's closed a second in less than a lap.
Well, since we began speaking about it, he's made up nearly, a second and a half here. It's been absolute monumental pace coming out of these softs for him. And the big question is, when are these drivers ahead going to get... And we've had another issue. That's XTXP in... Well, no, who was that then?
I think that was...
I thought it had been XTXP.
iFelipic.
Oh, it was
It's iFelipic.
iFelipic.
He's in second. Third.
Has lost out massively. Look at that front wing. Look at the front wing on that Williams. He was off to a superlative lead. Oh my.
I think he's done what Remco did earlier and just slammed that inside wall coming out of 6.
Wow. This race has
struggling
been flipped.
big time.
Yeah, this race has been flipped on its head here. Yoda, from 3rd position, is in lead of this race. Freeware, who started so far up on this grid, is out of this race. Gazieg started in 16th. He actually doesn't lose or gain a position. He just, he's there. He was here. Fraser's jumping into the pit lane. He's following Yoda in. So it's time.
Up.
And iFelipic, they see iFelipic has damage, so they're going, he's going to need to get a wing change here. Fraser's going to jump just ahead of Yoda. Is anyone going to serve? Yoda's already out onto fresh tires. How long is that?
Look, in P1.
Microlander, as I said, on those medium compound tires, has jumped in to lead of this race.
And there's another person I want to point out here, Cactus. Someone who isn't as hardened a veteran of league racing, is now in 5th place. He's on 13 lap of medium, soft, sorry. Just behind Fraser. I imagine we're going to see him pit and possibly lose a few positions, but still a stellar drive from the other McLaren as he gets passed up the inside by BTFU. No. I've given a big old commentator's curse there.
Yeah, big commentator's curse there. He's trying to get that car back under control here. He's doing well to keep in mind there's fast movers coming through, and just like that, it just goes to show you can lose position very quickly here. Who is that up his rear? It's iFelipic, but we have to take a look as it's Wisp who's made it ahead of BTFU. Back to iFelipic and Cactus. iFelipic already very far ahead of Cactus. Cactus really struggling to get those wheels back going with that front right end plate missing as well.
Yeah, the softs are gone. The softs are gone. I'm seeing it, and everyone else that have got these tires on as well. Really struggling. Swifty has just hopped past his team. BTFU's had an issue as well, and he's on those softs that he started this race on. They are very much gone. I'd be surprised to see Rackety stay out for another lap here.
What?
But he is.
What a situation. Look at the tire life. Look at the difference in tire. Just the tires right now on this timing tower are all up and down the spectrum. Wisp has absolutely been hunting down these drivers in the top 5.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think, what does Wisp do here?
Relapse dispatches Cactus now. Relapse has had a very interesting drive in that Mercedes as well, but we're going to take a look on with iFelipic now. He is on 1 lap old mediums, hunting down the Renault of Astro 8. He looks to the inside. That was very close for him. Just because you're fast doesn't mean you can lunge like that. Astrolite would have been livid having to see a move come from him on that one.
So, looking at the current tyre situation, I think what we're going to see, Whisk could be on quite an interesting strategy here. I think he's going to pit around about the same time, or very similar time, to Microlander. Although, no, that doesn't make... I'm struggling to think what Microlander's play here is. If it's meeting him soft, we might see them pit. I think we have to see them pit at similar times, and that means if Whisk can catch Microlander, who's on those aged mediums, Whisk is on these fresh softs, Whisk can have a very good chance of doing some serious damage in this race. Astronaut as well.
Astronaut was just taken for P7 as iFelipe is on a charge through this field with a very large axe to grind, I imagine, after he span out in lead of this race.
Yoda as well. He's caught back up with Rackety, who's still out on these softs that he started this race on, which is fairly impressive.
iFelipe is looking at Swifty real hard here. Swifty on much older rubber. Bit of a snap there from Swifty. He lets iFelipe straight through on the inside. He's going to have a look back at him, no. This is going to expose... Oh, Swifty's had a big weave coming off the curb there, and he goes into the wall. There goes Astrodate through. As easy as you like for a position for Astrodate there. Rackety now. There goes Yoda. Teammates in Tier 1, but not today. Yoda clear through into P2, wanting to get himself as far away from iFelipe, utilizing this traffic as he can. Microlander is doing really good there. Sorry, they're 15-lap-old mediums now. The big question is, when's he going to come in, Unicorn?
Right now? Oh, well, Rackety right now, but Microlander, he's got to stay out for a fair amount of time longer. He's got to stay out, I reckon, until about lap 30-ish, give or take safety car, any other thing that comes his way. But what I'm imagining here is that these mediums, you're going to have to see these drivers run up about 30 laps on them. And that's why I think Wisp is going to come in around lap 30 as well to take his mediums to the end after he gets off the second set of softs. He's currently about 15 seconds down on Microlander. He's got to catch Fraser as well if he can. Fraser on fresh mediums. And that could be a tall order as well, considering it's Yoda and Fraser, two very, very quick guys from varying grids around the MRL. As Wisp has had an issue, he's just missed the braking point, I think, into turn 9. Taking a bit of grass through 10, but yeah, the strategy in this one is going to be absolutely critical. Like I said, I think these mediums are going to be about 30 laps, and we've got people on different ages of mediums. They're going to be coming into the pits and throwing themselves out of the pits and putting themselves straight into battles with everyone else on track.
Wisp is going to have iFelipe to worry about here by, if I'm not mistaken, the 11-12 chicane, perhaps even earlier, here on lap 18. He is currently in P5, and he has made up a second since I began talking about it. So that could also play a role in Wisp's hunt for Fraser here. Going to turn into a situation where he'll need to stick with iFelipe.
Well, I don't think Wisp is going to be doing any catching. Fraser's just set the fastest lap of the race, and iFelipe has just set the fastest Sector 3 of anyone. So, as Cotters...
Ooh, that's bad news. That's on a different portion of the circuit, and there it is, there it is! He crashed differently than the other two. He was on the outside coming through into turn 13, and ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the lap 18 safety car.
Yeah, this is a tricky one. I don't think you can take mediums to the end from here. It would be tough. I don't know if it's possible. Yasko might be thinking it's possible.
Microlander's going to be thinking a medium hard. Is that going to be the call?
It's tough. I don't know what the pace of the hards is going to be around here.
Well,
I
he
wouldn't be
can't go
surprised to
into
see him come in for
mediums.
softs.
Well, he can't go on mediums. He's got a big lock up there coming through turn 14. Ooh, or 15, excuse me. He goes in. Yoda doesn't need to. Yoda's going to stay out.
Fraser's in there.
Wow.
It is softs for the Renault.
I'm quite happy that we have seen the safety car here, because it's really going to pack up this field, and the strategy differential is going to be monumental. Absolutely monumental.
Fraser's just gone for fresh mediums. His is only 5 laps old, but he's thinking that maybe... I reckon he thinks he can take them to the end.
I imagine Yoda's not going to be too thrilled about this, though. Even though that he's in lead of this race, look who's coming to catch him right now. It's Ifilipic, who decided not to pit either.
Remco's not pitting as well.
Microlander jumped on the softs.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I think either another safety car will be a saving grace, or the fact that he's just on these softs. Everyone else trying to take mediums to the end.
But it's a really long race, so there is plenty of potential. There's 14 chances per lap of a safety car. Do the math. Safety cars breed safety cars as well. Really scratching your head, trying to think what these strategies are going to unlock for these drivers come the finale of this one.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, because we've got to give or take 40 laps. 40 laps. I think it's more about 38, especially green flag racing. But I reckon it's possible to take those mediums to the end, but the advantage the guys like Microlander, as well as Yoda and Ifilipic, they don't have any intention of taking those mediums to the end, is battling here is going to cost these guys who are trying to take these mediums to the end. And they need every ounce of life for mediums, because I think it's going to be possible, but they're going to have to tiptoe on these tires, wear them down as little as possible every lap, and they're still going to finish on about 70% wear minimum.
Microlander has a big task ahead of him here, because he's got 2 runners ahead, very quick in Yoda and Ifilipic, of course. Microlander is no slouch. He's shown it through this race that he's just, patient, collected. He's letting the moves happen as they're going to fall. Now, he's in 3rd position. He's the only driver in the top 10 on fresh soft rubber. What he needs to do, of course, is to pull that gap from the 2 front runners. He needs to get ahead of Ifilipic and Yoda quickly, pull a gap in order to get another pit stop onto some better tires later on down the line, because he can go medium soft here, and I think it might pan out. So it's such a unique situation for those front 3, and it's just Gasco is going to catch up with the grid. Cactus behind him. You have XTXP. Safety car more than likely going to come in here at the end of lap 20, potentially. No, it's got to be lap 20, but it's going to tell us right now as it hits the sector 2-3 split. Because those other drivers haven't caught yet, it may go around one more time. What's it going to say? Brackety's back into the session. Love to see it. Looks like we're going to be going around again, but I've seen it also have that late call heading down into turn 13. Looks like it's staying out.
Yeah, I think it's going to stay out.
Wow, it's been such a bunched up grid now with the safety car. We had the VSC multiple collisions. Yoda with a little bit of a connection problem there. He's in AI. So hopefully he can get the heck out of AI.
I think he is already out of it, so maybe just a quick pause to take a drink or something.
Well, now that my intervals are gone, so it might have been some kind of desync in the lobby.
Yeah,
Yikes.
Fraser is now AI, so maybe these guys, it is possible that they're just taking a break under the safety car, to take a drink, put it in pause, let the auto drive do it.
I wouldn't
jump for 10-15 seconds. But timings are back, so fingers crossed.
With this lap, I'm going to take a quick 30-second break myself and get a drink. So I will leave it with you, Unicorn. for a moment.
So, Yoda and Felipe ahead of Michael on these softs is going to be Fraser telling us that he's relieved himself as a result of that. So the AI is indeed being used as a rest break. Too much information, but Michael on the fresh softs, he's on the faster tyres, but Felipe especially has just shown unbelievable pace at the start of this race and in qualifying as well. Yoda has been showing some incredible consistent speed as well. Fraser as well on the fresher tyres, I should say, is going to be an interesting factor as well, hunting down Felipe and Yoda when May's tyres start to go off. Whispers well on those 2-lap-old mediums.
Okay, and I have returned here. Look at the aerial view we have of this Renault and Microlander right now, and every now and then you get the good cameras. Mind you, it's these cameras you like to see for those excellent wheel-to-wheel exchanges, isn't it, Unicorn?
Yeah, cameras, they don't miss, but it's all cameras on Yoda, waiting for him to restart this race, get us back under green flag racing. And the McLaren still weaving, getting warped in those tyres, but he has gone out of the final corner. And it's a pretty decent race start from pretty much everyone, it would seem.
Rackety's extremely tight to the rear of Fraser right now. Coming out of turn 2, I think he might look for a run here. He looks for the outside. Fraser just locks it in. Fraser just planting that car right now. Rackety not able to get through.
Microlander as well. He's keeping it very tight to the rear. I believe that these soft tyres really paying off for him.
Big slide out for Felipe on the exit there. A lock up from him as well. These softs are extremely important for Microlander to get a move done here. Is he going to get it around the outside? Yes, he's through. As we make our way in through turn 10.
And this is music to Yoda's ears. He's got now a car between him and Felipe. If he can sort of try and break away, doing what Felipe did at the start of this race, he could be in very good stead come the end of it. Swifty, a nice exit through 12. Is he going to have the run that he needs on Astrodite? Astrodite using a little bit of ERS potentially, but Swifty, Astrodite, sorry, a big kick out from the rear through 13.
Microlander, meanwhile, at the front of this grid, Unicorn. We said he needed to do it quickly. He's very tight to the rear of Yoda here. No DRS for these drivers yet. We won't see that until lap 24. But Microlander is flying. You can tell that because he just set the fastest lap here on the restart. Yoda is in trouble for the moment.
Yeah, I think there are a couple of drivers who are in a little bit of danger. BTFU might be one of them as well. He's got a Mercedes behind him in the form of Relapse on the soft common tyres. Swifty with a little bit of a lock-up holds his teammate up a little bit, and you can see Relapse just trying to look for a way through here. Not finding it.
Very tight racing on this restart. We love to see it. A little bit of grass getting kicked up there. Relapse takes BTFU. BTFU struggling. Relapse has already carried so much speed through ahead of him. Meanwhile, Yoda, Microlander in this deadlock battle for the lead of this race. Microlander onto these soft compound tires coming through the 11-12 chicane. You can see how much patience he has. He's just slowing things down a bit. He has a great run, good overtake utilization here from the Renault on the inside as we make our way into 13. Yoda, no slouch on defense, though. He looks to hold it around the outside, but the softs carrying a lot of traction in comparison. Going to give Microlander that edge, and he is in the lead of this race as Fraser now has caught up quite well with Felipe. There is a rubber differential here, and Felipe doesn't want to see this AlphaTauri in his rear view at the moment. Rackety, a 1.5 second difference behind.
Yeah, Fraser's done really well there. The battling with Microlander with the two cars ahead of him is exactly what Fraser needed, and Microlander really nailed the way he did that overtake as well. Broke a little bit heavier, lifted off a little bit into 11, so he got that drive out of 12 rather than have to stop mid-corner and ruin the flow of the chicane. But it's Fraser now. He's just going to have to wait until the tyres ahead of him drop off a little bit more than his. It's going to be a small window for him, and it's not going to be for a little while. But Fraser, he can't afford to battle too much if he is going to try and take these to the end.
So much happening on this grid right now. You look at the train that's behind Rackety in this equation. You have Wisp, Remco, Aphrodite, Swifty, Relapse, all in battle position here. And should any one of them make even the remotest mistake, they are going to be out of that running. Wisp takes a little bit of gravel up. You have Aphrodite under major threat here. We have Swifty on the outside. Aphrodite planting that car in a very good defensive position. A little bit of a lockup though. Swifty, a good exit. Aphrodite closes the door. iFilipic and Yoda coming wheel to wheel now. iFilipic on the inside of Yoda coming through out of turn 16 is ahead of the McLaren, and Yoda doesn't want to believe it, but that is going to be Fraser looking at him on the way down into turn 1 and 2. Does he break off from that McLaren? No. He holds it in through out of turn 2. He wants that DRS as we make our way down through into turn 3. And is he going to get the move done this time around? Yoda on the inside with the hold. A little bit of contact there with Fraser getting that front wheel in with Yoda now through the inside of turn 4. Yoda back to the inside through 5. This is a fantastic wheel-to-wheel exchange, and Yoda holds it for now. Wow.
Yeah, these guys, they're not doing their tyres any favors. Who is that? It's BTFU. He's had an issue, dropping him to the rear of this grid.
Remco Van Putten has a sniff of blood. It's Wisp in that scarlet red Ferrari who's doing the bleeding right now. He's had an issue. Remco looking to clear him for P6, and this is going to expose Wisp in a moment too. That's right, the Aphrodite Renault in P8. He has the DRS. Is he going to get enough traction? And, well, he's not using that battery, so he's being quite patient here so far, but he's got Relapse barking up his rear on those soft compound tires. Those softs, as we've seen from Microlander, they have a ton of pace in comparison to mediums, and there's a little bit of a tap. Both of these cars go round. Swifty's going to have a big hold up in front of him, and this has really stunted things in this grid. Yasko moves through and weaves through into 10th position. Swifty, oh man, that really blew that situation wide open. 3 cars basically deadlocked through turn 15. And it's just Fraser fighting with Yoda. Not nearly as tight as we saw them coming through this section last time around, but that could be all by design here for the AlphaTauri. Meanwhile, Remco has caught up with Rackety, and they have been doing the dance all race long.
Yeah, Remco and Rackety tied together right now, but they've got Wisp to worry about behind them. Obviously, Wisp's just had a lot of pressure alleviating from his shoulders after that incident through the penultimate turn, but he's on fresher tyres. His tyres are half the age of Remco's, sorry. And he could just sort of bide his time here, and these guys ahead of him, they're going to struggle with their tyres towards the end of this race. And it might be that Wisp is one of these drivers who's intending to take his set of rubber all the way to the checkered flag. And if that is the case, he doesn't want to be battling anyone, so
many
the Astrolite situation.
Battle for 3rd. Battle for 6th. And I believe that's a battle for 10th really brewing right now. That is going to be Yasko under major threat. Let's take a look at the rear wing. He has Relapse breathing down his neck in that Mercedes. Relapse coming out of turn 15. Almost has a look to the outside, but let's take a look on board with him as he really wants a position here. Fraser looking tight at Yoda. We're going to look at that in a second if we need to. We're going to jump on with him as he's around the outside into turn 3 in a fight for podium positions. He's through ahead, and it's Relapse now through turn 2 on the rear of the Alpha coming down into turn 3. Is he going to get the move around the inside? Yes, he is, and I believe we saw the exchange happen on the timing tower. Remco Van Putten has been dispatched for P7 and is struggling with no front left end plate. Wisp now hunting down Rackety.
He's got more than an end plate missing on that Haas. A big issue for Remco, and that's going to drop him a lot, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him come in for mediums to take to the end here, similarly to how BTFU has done it.
PTFU gonna be happy that he can inherit at the very least a position from Remco here. He's on those fresh mediums on a charge, and he'll be looking to go to the end on those tires. Wisp now, wheel to wheel. That is going to be Rackety on the defense to the inside of turn 13. The Ferrari around the outside going and extending a little bit there. Rackety going to have a good exit of traction, or amount of traction on exit, excuse me, as I find my words, looking at all of this intensity. That Mercedes still holding now. It's going to go through to the inside for Rackety. You have Wisp. Who's going to have the DRS? It's going to be Wisp. But Rackety has so much pace right now, and Astrodite, it's 3 wide, Unicorn coming down into turn 1, and the loser in this one's going to be Rackety, but who's going to be the big winner? That's Wisp through in 5th. Astrodite has also claimed a position and has Swifty in the Red Bull. Rackety's lost out massively. Astrodite now looking around the outside through turn 3. This has been absolute madness as Relapse now on his teammate. A little bit of a love tap there. Wheel to wheel. Yes, go through into 9th, and there's a yellow flag. Wisp's coming around. He's had major damage. He's off. Oh, no. He inherited such a good position there. He's on those tires, those fresh mediums. Well, fresher mediums, excuse me. And look at what's happened. He's lost it. Oh, no. Relapse on those softs, hunting down that Red Bull of Swifty.
Yeah, XTXP side by side with Rackety coming down towards the 11-12 chicane, and XTXP taking a much more traditional line compared to the Mercedes. And
Rackety around the outside of Astrodite. That's Swifty. I'm losing my mind. Rackety. Oh my god, I'm losing my place here. Relapse has lost out to Astrodite. Swifty in 5th. The action has been so intense on the safety car restart. We're only halfway through this race.
yeah, this is where the endurance part of the title comes into play. These drivers would be getting ready to wrap things up and go home at this stage of the race usually, but now they've got to do it all over again. And for those drivers from, what is this, 5th all the way through pretty much 9th, they're in this big train. They are not going to be feeling comfortable. Either Yoda as well. He and Fraser are locked in a little bit of a battle. You've got Wisp and Rackety coming into the pits. There's Astrodite and Relapse. It's Relapse using those soft tyres. He's got around the Renault. A really nice move down into turn 9.
Position changes here in this one so far. Microlander is leading your race. Up 11 positions in that Renault. Filipic was on pole position. He has lost out a position here, but is in 2nd. Looking to perhaps retake that down the line as Microlander is on softs at the moment. Fraser up 2 positions. Yoda down from 3rd. Swifty up 1. Relapse up 2. Astrodite has held it in 7th from where he began this endeavor. Yasko up 9 positions, and there's a yellow flag through Sector 3. That is XTXP with a bit of an issue just as we come out of the final turn. Swifty and Relapse with an exchange as well. Relapse gets the move done on the Red Bull into 5th position coming down into turn 1.
Yeah, Remco and Wisp as well. They're deadlocked in a battle. Remco just up the inside of Wisp into 11. Beautiful move from the Haas driver. They've just sort of been thrown into a battle, but yeah, the real fight is still this train going on in the midfield. And we'll have to see how it plays out.
Less than half a second. There goes Relapse.
Relapse is spun.
He's had a big issue here. Relapse. Oh, he's in the grass, and he is not going to be happy about that. There comes the McLaren of Cactus, and here comes XTXP. Breezing on by him. Take a look at the front end, see if there's damage on that Mercedes. Yep, no front left end plate for him. Not going to be too thrilled about that at all.
Yeah, he's going to want to get off of those softs. I think they're getting to a stage where they're almost done. I think Microlander as well, currently in lead of this race, and doing a fairly good job of leading this race, as it seems one of the Mercedes drivers has had an issue. It is Relapse again having a spin. But yeah, mediums to the end now. Very possible.
31 laps have... Well, we're on lap 31. We've had 30 laps of full racing here as Astrodate makes a very neat move on the inside of Swifty, but it's going to be a great exit for the Red Bull wheel-to-wheel coming back through turn 5. Turn 4 into turn 5, excuse me, with Swifty on the inside. Astrodate, 5th position around the outside. Now, if I'm not mistaken, Relapse took 5 seconds on his way into the pit lane. He won't be too thrilled on that one either to add insult to injury.
Yeah, he took it for speeding into that pit lane. And he's going to get chucked out right in the midst of the battle for the... Well, no longer the second to last place. It's now a battle for P12 between Remco and Wisp.
Swifty coming back at Astrodate now, coming into turn 13 with the DRS. Very tight to the rear of that Renault. Not using too much of that battery. They're on the same tires. It's been a fantastic battle to see here so far as Astrodate has been off to a very, very unique drive. He's made up 2 positions. He's also had a spin in this one. A little bit of an issue for him, but he's doing quite well. Remco van Putten has been all over, but he has been continuously pushing to make up positions here. So we'll see what he does. We still have a lot of racing left in this one. XTXP ahead of Cactus into turn 1 for 8th.
And Relapse getting past Wisp. The softs working out for him. And like you said, Cactus getting past. He's on 17 lap old softs. He's already had issues with aging softs in this race. I'm surprised he's still out. I would not be at all surprised if he came in for mediums at the end of this lap. I'd actually be surprised if he didn't, to be honest.
I'm very curious to see what BTFU jumps on here. I think it'll be a set of mediums at this point. Yeah, it's old mediums though. He's not going to be happy about that. There goes Swifty. He's had a big issue coming outside of the 11-12 chicane. We were on board with him as he did it. That's a big loss for him in the Red Bull. We'll see what that sparks here in this one as Cactus and XTXP come through. Ooh, he's back going again, so we aren't going to see the safety car. A good chunk of debris on circuit, though. He took a big shunt in that Red Bull. You can see there the front right wing, and he's not going to be too thrilled. He was in a fantastic battle for some good points.
Yeah, and you can see him struggling as a result of that damage. Cactus coming into the pit lane, presumably ahead of the Red Bull. Yep. So the pair of them, they'll come out. They won't be together because Cactus doesn't need that front wing changing. Swifty's going on to the soft compound of tyres, though. Similar to what Relapse has done. I'm wondering whether these guys are banking on another safety car, something of the sort, but they want to try and rectify their mistakes with a little burst of speed in the form of a pair of softs, and Relapse is going pretty quick. He's catching Remco at a fairly steady rate. He's already dispatched of Wisp and left him behind by 3 seconds.
One thing to talk about here is the gap between Microlander and iFelipic. Microlander, on those softs, we've seen them around this time kind of die off. He began the race on the medium compound tires. Does he go on to medium compound tires, or does he go on to softs? Because if iFelipic is quicker than him right now on the, well, I think iFelipic has to pit again as well. So this race, I don't, just throw whatever I was saying out the window. I just realized we still have a ton of racing left, and I don't think that those tires are going to make it to the end for iFelipic or Yoda.
I think Microlander is going to have to come in for mediums to the end, and I think iFelipic is gonna have to come in for softs a little while after. So I think iFelipic here is in the advantageous position because he'll be on the faster tire at the end of this race, and I think in terms of sheer speed and pace around the track as well, in terms of just driver ability, I think iFelipic has that as well. The gap's only 5 seconds right now, which is a lot, but the difference between a set of fresh softs and a set of fresh mediums is what we're looking at here. So I think right now Filipic looking very strong, but Microlander doing a pretty good job at managing these softs towards the end of their life.
Relapse breaks to the outside on a move. Remco on the inside through turn 3 right now. They're wheel to wheel in this exchange. There's a bit of a tap there of oversteer, a snap of oversteer coming out of Relapse there. He unsettles Remco. Or was it the other way around now?
Well, Relapse has been catching Remco for a while, so I think Remco's just getting back into P10, and they've got Swifty behind them on fresh softs, who's going to be looking for some positions, but it's interesting. The tyres in this race, you've got these drivers at the back of this grid now, Rackety being the start of that, and he's in P8, so not a bad position at all, but they're all on fresh tyres, whether it be soft or mediums. And then you've got the drivers at the front who are on much older tyres, but they have the track position. So we've got the lower half of the field catching the upper half of the field.
Remco has a big issue here, because Relapse is just like a homing missile here, hunting him down. Swifty behind them on those softs. So 123.182 from him, the fastest lap, and he's going to be getting into this equation.
There goes Relapse around the outside into turn 3. Remco with a big squeeze for the Mercedes, and Relapse not getting the exit he would like either, and that's going to cost him big time, and it's cost him DRS if he can't catch back up.
I was going to say that was really good for Swifty, as he was within half a second of Relapse in that exchange coming out of turn 4, but he had a massive slide on those softs, and he was very good about getting it back under control, but it could have been a trip to the wall for him. Fortunately, it's only a trip a couple of tenths back on Relapse now.
Yeah, in this race, I want to see where Microlander comes out when he pits. He's going to pit either at the end of this lap, or I give him about a 2-lap window to come in for mediums. I don't think he's going to take these softs any longer than 20 laps. That would be a real stretch. But
there goes Swifty coming out of the final turn. He's gone through out of turn 16. A big crash from him. That entire front wing is gone. We saw it in the rear view of Relapse as we jumped on with him, and there is another safety car on lap 36 here in the Endurance Series.
Into the pits.
Oh, well, Filipic has come into the pit lane here.
Microlander's pretty past, though.
That's
come out at the worst time for Microlander.
No. Oh, man. Remember I was saying about Filipic earlier in this race when he had taken such a lead. I said if there was a safety car, it would be very bad for him. Now Microlander, who is off to a fantastic drive on this medium to soft strategy, is going to be so upset, and I am afraid it's near back-to-back upsets for Microlander. We saw how things ended in Spa for him the other day, and he's just going to be really grinding his teeth on this one now. He's following the safety car. Things are going to collect themselves on this grid. Fraser has decided to stay out here on 5-lap old mediums, which is a very interesting call. But this race, oh, what a race we are having here around Albert Park. Of course, for those of you that are just tuning in, the full replay will be on the YouTube channel. Of course, grab your friends, your family. It's a Grand Prix here around Australia, something we haven't gotten to see yet this season, aside from MRL, of course, and other leagues participating around the globe. But a 100% distance race. We had 17 drivers. 3 of them are out. We've had 2 safety cars, a VSC, and multiple overtakes, and multiple, if you will, spinalas. So this has been a very dynamic race, and you love to see it. Microlander is going to be so upset because Filipic on those fresh softs is just like, hey man, how you going? I do believe I was in the lead of this race on that first stint, and I'd like that back, please. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Microlander. I feel so much disappointment for him. He's just been so unlucky. I reckon he would have just been debating, do I come in this lap, do I come in last lap? And if he'd have come in that lap, you know, I said he's got about 2 laps of a window, and now it's such a big loss for him. The only advantage he will have is he's got 1 lap fresher softs, and that usually wouldn't be too much of an issue, but I saw Alex Bitto in the chat earlier saying that the softs probably good for about 20 laps or so, and guess whose softs are going to be 20 laps old at the end of this race? Microlander. Everyone else pushing 21 out of this. So
He's very fortunate to come out in P4 here. Things didn't bunch up nearly as quick as I thought they may have, so it's still quite good for him coming out in P4 on those fresh softs, but it's still 20 laps to go on those softs.
yeah, and there's Fraser ahead. Fraser, obviously not having a fresh set of mediums, had to switch to a set of 6-lap old mediums. They will take him to the end comfortably, but on this restart, compared to the guys on the fresh softs, he's going to be like a sitting duck. He's going to have nothing in terms of defense compared to these guys. And Remco as well, not taking advantage of the safety car. He stayed out on mediums that are 10 laps old.
Well, I would just like to take a nice humble moment to say thank you to everybody who's been tuning in. Greatly appreciate all of the support. If you're new, welcome. My name is Stryfium. Joining me from the UK is Unicorn. We'd greatly appreciate it if you could help us out and support the stream with a follow. We have a ton of racing action happening here week by week. Lots of races. This coming week, we have 5 fantastic, I can only imagine, Grand Prix for you. We're going to none other than the Temple of Speed. It's going to be Monza and Unicorn. You and I, after a week of Spa, I imagine a week of Monza is going to be just as pressurized, if you will. But nowhere near as pressurized as this grid is about to get here in Albert Park.
Yeah, you come off the back of one of the most iconic racing tracks to another very iconic racing track. Monza, again, popular not only in F1, but all lengths of motorsport. And yeah, I think it's going to be a very, very interesting week, Monza. I think if I'm not mistaken, we've done one of these endurance races around Monza.
We have. I was about to bring it up. The last time we did a broadcast around Italy was for one of these endurance series races. And if you remember Unicorn, that race, that race was something else. Absolute tight, jam-packed grid in that one. A fight for podium positions in the top 5 throughout the entirety. Safety cars, everything. Of course, that entire video is on our YouTube channel.
Yeah, we're just waiting for BTFU to catch up to the rear of this grid. Now, wait, no, we're not. Is that Swifty who's been allowed to unlap? It's Swifty who's been allowed to unlap himself.
Swifty, no, I do believe Swifty was not unlapped. Oh, maybe it had been him. Him and BTFU, though, I think were lapped, and BTFU is still unfortunately lapped. You can see him there in that Red Bull. He's technically 4th in this lineup. He's going to be showing the blue flag almost immediately, and that's going to be very unfortunate for him. I wonder if the guys are in the VC. Perhaps maybe they'll let BTFU by here.
And the only problem is that ever painful safety car thing that will give you 5-second penalties galore if you do something the game doesn't like. So they are in a VC though, but yeah, BT is going to have to pull out the way, I should think, on the start-finish straight, as well as out of turn 2.
Yoda in 3rd now. We haven't had the restart just yet.
Gone.
Has he gone now? He's definitely
I'm not
throttled
quite
down
sure
now,
he's
but he's
doing.
gotten a fairly good exit through here. Let's take a look at the intervals. There's definitely been a shakeup in this grid. Cactus has been caught out here. Wisp is looking for an overtake even before we get to the finish line. There's Rackety pulled off to the inside, and I'm not entirely sure what's happened with him. Relapse now on the outside is coming through, and we're back to green flag racing. Look at the amount of overtaking we've seen here on this restart Rackety really struggling here, and I'm not entirely too sure what's happened to him. But
I
it's
think
3
Cactus
wide coming
braked a lot
down.
earlier.
Nearly 3 wide coming down into turn 3 here. Relapse, meanwhile, after we see a very, well, Swifty is actually just hunting down Rackety. So much exchanging here. BTFU is still lap Swifty, tight to the rear of the Mercedes. Astrodite is hunting down Yasko. Meanwhile, Yoda's hunting down Fraser on those soft compound tires. Look at how tight these two racers are. Rackety holding Swifty for now. They're both on those softs. Yoda is going to be looking very hard at Fraser coming out of the chicane. We're going to jump on for this fight for P2, as Filipich has done what he did in the beginning of this race, and he's already started to pull away on these softs. Of course, Fraser is bottlenecking these guys, and there goes Yoda coming out of turn 13. He's taken a massive amount of damage here. You hate to see it. He's looking at all of that traffic coming by. He's got to try and do something. There's his teammate in Cactus. Cactus is going to go... Oh, he gets tapped as Yoda reverses into him. Oh, no. The McLaren and the McLaren team not going to be thrilled about that at all, as Astrodite is into 5th position hunting down Yasko. Wisp looking at Remco Van Putten down through into turns 1 and 2 as well, and things have just broken loose on this grid.
Yeah, that's majorly unfortunate, and Yoda being caught up much longer, having to wait to rejoin the track as Wisp looking around the outside of Remco Van Putten a little bit late for that move, and now he's got Relapse right behind him, looking at his gearbox very closely. Who is going to win out for this battle for 7th? Wisp looking at the inside of Remco. These guys are also tight. Relapse has had an excellent exit. He's using ERS. You've got Wisp looking at the outside. Relapse looking on the inside, but it's Wisp and Remco side by side through turns 9 and 10. And it's Wisp currently in P7. There's a little bit of wheel banging going on. Relapse has got an excellent view of this, but it's Remco. He's going to defend around the outside, and he's going to be later on the brakes, and that's going to give Wisp a little bit of a better run down through this long DRS straight down into turn 13, and there's Wisp around the outside, and that's Remco's front, and that's Remco spinning in exactly the same place we saw Yoda do it a lap previous.
Here comes Cactus. We'll see if he has any issues getting by the traffic this time. No, sir. Microlander has made it ahead of Fraser into turn 1 now as we move through onto lap 42. What intensity happening in that back of the grid. Astrodite is still hunting down Yasko quite hard here. Yasko on the defense. No DRS for these drivers yet. Wow. What a beautiful scene that we had here in the booth, here on the stream, whatever you want to call it. That was just beautiful. Let us know in the chat if you agree. That was really cool to see from the helicopter.
Yeah, we've still got such tight battles on this grid. We're 42 laps in. We've still got 16 to go. And Yasko as Astrodite. Softs versus mediums, both 5 laps old, and Yasko's going to be waiting to try and be faster at the end of this race, but Astrodite, not quite the same strategy. DRS enabled. I think he's going to be just a little bit too far back, looking into turn 13 for the move. He's going to try again down into turn 1, I would imagine. Swifty with a fairly sizable lockup, looking at the rear of Rackety into turn 13. He's struggling to get by. But here we go, the Renault, his second crack at the Alfa Romeo, and I don't think he's going to be close enough yet again for the move. Just going to have to wait for this, the third DRS zone, or the first, really, of the track. Hops into the slipstream, hops back out of it around the outside, late on the brakes. A little bit too late on the brakes, I think, for the Renault as they come together, a little bit of tap. But everything still pointing in the right direction. It's Astrodite around the outside. Yasko just letting him go, braking a little bit earlier to avoid any major contact.
This battling is giving XTXP a taste of the blood in the water, as it was a very, very tight squeeze for Astrodite to get ahead of Yasko there. Rackety is up 2 positions from where he began this race, hunting down his teammate Relapse, who started this race in 8th position, and he's definitely had a dynamic one. And that's something that we love about these 100% distance races. You aren't out until it's over.
Yeah, the strategy as well is just something else. And I think those drivers that have got race engineers in the voice chats, whether it's drivers who have already retired or the likes of Alex Bitter, who's been there from the start. Yellow flag, it's Remco, I think. It is. He's had another spin. Or another issue, at least.
Yeah, yellow flag there for the Haas. Setup not treating him too good today.
And he's trained for 7th as well. Wisp, the conductor at the front in 7th place. The two Mercedes behind him, and then Swifty bringing up the rear. All of them on the same age and compound of tyre. 7-lap-old softs.
I wonder what's going to happen between the two Mercedes cars here. They're both on the same tires, both 7-lap-old softs. They have a Red Bull charging behind them, a Ferrari ahead of them. This is a very, I'd say, 2019-esque situation in, well, a couple races anyway.
Yeah, well, I would imagine that the team order is you're allowed to race. There's no communication between the two, and I'm sure Rackety is going to take every opportunity he can to get past Relapse there for 8th place. And this train has caught the medium runners of XTXP and Yasko.
Yeah, this has been a very large train in formation now here. Rackety, one of the tightest intervals on the circuit, hunting down his teammate.
This train, not a lot of positional swaps going on at the moment. Swifty's dropped off a little bit.
Relapse has had a snap coming out of turn 4 there, and he's lost 2 positions as a result. Could be 3, excuse me, as Cactus. Wait, who? What am I looking at? I thought that I had seen another car in the rear view of him. Oh, that may have been... I am confused because of lap cars, I think.
Yasko's had an issue as well.
Yeah, Yasko's had an issue. This race just is the race that, we've said it before, just keeps on giving. Yasko has a big problem in Swifty now, as apparently... My controller disconnected for a moment. Wisp's hunting down XTXP still. The battles are still in full force on lap 46. So it's been a fantastic race here so far.
Yeah, and I don't see it stopping anytime soon. Speaking of fantastic races, Felipic and Microlander as well, both having stellar drives. As it seems Remco's had... He scores another yellow flag there coming out of turn 12. But it's going to be Swifty on the rear of Yasko and Wisp on the inside of XTXP.
Wow, XTXP just said no, sir. This is not happening today to the Ferrari. What a defensive move and switchback coming out of him. There goes Felipic. He's just taken a 3-second time penalty, Unicorn.
Well, right now, I don't think that would mean much. But yeah, he's picked those all those warnings up in the last lap or so. As we've got the Mercedes of Rackety going past Wisp. What's happened to Wisp? Did he have an issue?
Wisp is in 7th position. Rackety now. Oh, Rackety is on a charge here in that Mercedes. Wheel to wheel with XTXP. Very tight racing between these two. They're still wheel to wheel. XTXP. Oh, Rackety spun it round. He's got oncoming traffic. This is going to be very tough for him to get back going again. He is in the gravel. Looks like he may have just come a little too tight with the racing point. XTXP holds it in 5th, but he still has to worry about Wisp and Swifty on the soft compound tires behind him. They are both, well, the 3 of them with Yasko included. Well, basically all the way down the train, all on those 10-lap old tires here. There goes Whiff on the outside, coming down through turn 3. It's tough racing between these two. On the inside now, is XTXP going to hold it the way we saw him do it last lap? Very tight between these two, but it is going to be the Ferrari ahead into 5th position coming out of turn 5.
Yeah, and up into that top 5. It's going to be interesting because let's not forget these guys are on these soft tyres, pitting under that safety car. We're not quite sure how these tyres are going to fare towards the end of this race. We could have, 5 races with punctures in 10 laps time, depending on how well they've preserved. And with the likes of Wisp and Swifty, they've been in these battles for a long time. Speaking of Swifty, he's looking at the rear of XTXP. He's going to go around the outside through this DRS section. He's looking around the outside of turn 13. No one really braking later, but it's going to be Swifty with the traction.
Yasko
Out
behind them. Yasko is chasing out of turn 13, where we've seen it happen so many times here so far. And there he comes back on the circuit. Rackety has to weave through. Oh my, that was a heart and mouth moment for the Mercedes if I've ever seen one. Wow, Yasko getting that car back on the circuit, and Rackety is fortunate, I have to say. Wow. I need to calm down for a moment.
Well, he's done it again. This time out of the last corner. He's facing the wrong way. There goes Cactus.
Oh, and this time he holds on a second because it was the Master Jedi, if you will. That's Yoda coming through. And if Yasko had parked that car in front of the McLaren, I think Yoda's the last guy you want to come back on circuit unsafely for. The hand would go up.
Struggling.
XTXP. Oh, this race has just been giving so many intense, dramatic moments. I hope all of you have been enjoying it. Things are just in a bit of a lull now. We've got about 11 laps here to go. Filipich has been doing quite well to maintain that lead, and I have to say, given how his race happened out of that first stint, he's had a fantastic recovery to back into the lead of this race, as it's Yasko once again struggling. He has no front wing on that Alfa Romeo.
Yeah, it's not been the end to the race that he would want, but it was a brilliant performance up until that point. But like we were saying earlier,
yeah,
it's not over till the checkered flag.
He has just crashed coming out of turn 10, and there goes Filipich flying by him. That means Microlander isn't too far behind. And what's going to happen here? He slows things right down as that car is in the middle of the circuit. Are we going to see a safety car deployed from this Yasko? Oof, that car is dead center in that circuit here. And it
the criteria.
It has now gone. No safety car, which baffles me.
I would love to know what the criteria for bringing a safety car in this game out is, because sometimes we think it's so cut and dry that, yes, that right there, that is a car stationary, it cannot move from the center of the track, there are fast cars going through. Full course yellow. Doesn't happen.
Well, you have Filipich, we saw him blow through there at 200 plus K an hour. You know, if he hits that car, it's game over.
And then you've got the instances where two people, lightly tap each other, someone loses an end plate, safety cars straight out. But relapse, looking at the rear of XTXP, the softs still seem to be king for the time being. He's got the racing point down the start-finish straight, and there's not a lot XTXP can do to fight back from that.
XTXP on those mediums could very much yield a heck of a lot more pace and be in a very good position coming through to the end of this race, Unicorn. Fraser on the 18-lap-old mediums, he won't be in nearly as much of a good position in comparison, as these softs will begin to degrade. If XTXP is able to hold on to Relapse, perhaps Relapse can bring him within that train that Swifty is currently holding on to. Of course, P5 in right now. Could be very, very good for XTXP in this racing point.
And if we do see punctures come out of the soft runners, either XXP and Fraser, both of them could net some nice positions here. If either Michael or if Alipich took a puncture, I think Fraser would be able to overtake either of them, as that's an issue for BTFU coming out of turn 12. Another victim to that infamous corner. And it looks like he's got front wing damage. Yep, the right hand side of that wing is pretty annihilated.
XTXP is just dancing on the edge of DRS right now. Hopefully this lunge out of turn 2 can help him stay within it, because he is right on the cusp of losing it, as is Swifty, and Relapse is gaining on Swifty as well. He's shown great pace here in this race, and he's slipped up a couple of times, preventing him from being, I think, in a further points position. Swifty now has locked in on Wisp somewhat in this fight for P5. He is within a second once again, as we'll jump on with that Red Bull.
Yeah, and our resident race engineer, Alex Vidal, informing that Alipich only has 35% wear on his tyres, and with that being the case, I have severely underestimated the softs around here.
Swifty's had a major issue coming out of 11-12. What is it with Swifty and us being on board with him that makes that car want to fly out of the chicane?
He's having some serious issues with tyre heating there. Car's uncontrollable. I mean, he is missing a large portion of the front wing.
Rackety around the outside. Swifty has to lock up the tires. He needs to come into the pit lane, and he isn't going to make it into the pit lane. He has to reverse that Red Bull around. Is he going to get DSQ'd for it? Oh no, he's on the baller now. Is he going to get in? He doesn't get the DSQ, and I have to say, how fortunate is he? Oh, Swifty. Oh, Swifty, I am afraid you are going to be a victim of some highlights, sir.
I am sure that is not what he wants to be hearing if he is in the stream. I'm sure someone in that voice channel is informing him. Probably just became the one they're all laughing at momentarily. Cactus rejoining the session.
Someone will need to file that highlight onto Mr. Alpha SH, the meme review board executive in the community. Yikes.
I'm trying to work out. No, BTFU is not racing Swifty for position here. He is still a lap down. The two Red Bulls getting very close to each other. As
My
the timing
intervals
tower.
have... Yeah, I think you're feeling the same there. They have disappeared for a moment. Like a relapse, though. Probably one of the closest gaps on grid right now. 2 Wisp ahead.
Again, one of those things that confuses me about this game. I want to know what causes us both, because it's always the pair of us that lose the timing tower intervals. So something in the game is causing us to lose those, and one of those weird things. But about 5 laps left here around Albert Park, and with the soft tyres apparently being very comfortable towards the end of this race, I don't think we're going to see too many changes from what we've got unless we see any more spins.
Wisp is struggling massively right now. He's on the same tires as Relapse, but Relapse, he has him deadlocked in his sights as we move through the chicane. The Mercedes is looking to inherit a couple more points here. DRS now on the rear.
Yeah, the
Bit of a
only two
slide
on
there.
this grid really left battling.
Ooh, Relapse has had a bit of an issue coming through that final turn. He had to lock things up with the brakes. So he's lost a good chunk of time. He's still got the DRS. I think it's going to keep him within DRS range heading through into turn 3, which is fortunate for him. He'll be able to bring that loss back up without having to utilize too much of that battery. hunt for P5.
Yeah, well, that inside curb on that final corner is absolutely punishing. If you touch it even the slightest, you can just spin your car around. We've seen it a couple of times today with Yasko being a victim of that one.
I have to say, Microlander in a very good position considering where he began this race. He has made up 10 positions. Take a look at the fastest lap here as well. Fastest lap is currently held by none other than the race leader. That is, of course, Filipich in the Williams, a 1:21.580. The only other lap in the 121s presently is Remco van Putten in 13th position, who has had basically the opposite race to Microlander. Down 11 positions there in 13th. He has not had a very good drive here in this one. Struggling, that is to say the least.
Yeah, he's just been super aggressive on those curves, and I think at this point he has to be super aggressive on those curbs. He wants to just try and catch up, but the only person he might catch up is BTFU, and even that looks like it'll be a little bit of a stretch. But great to see that he's sticking with it. Obviously, unlikely. I don't think it's possible for us to get a safety car. But Swifty, I don't know if you were on board and you've hit him with that camera curse.
I
but
am now. He's had another shake. Trying to get it back going. Remco's just taking 3 seconds. And a big question here is, are we going to see penalties play a massive role for some of these tighter gaps on grid, like Relapse and Wisp and XTXP, I think, within striking distance here?
Well, Wisp does have a penalty. Relapse has a 5-second though, so Wisp actually has a 2-second advantage in terms of
Relapse
penalties.
May have served that though. Would it still?
He hasn't pitted since, I don't think.
Because I remember when he took it, we had brought it up.
Unless of course, what lap did he pit? He picked it up on lap 30, so
I think he might have served it.
he served it. He served it. This is his second set of softs.
I think he might have served
Well,
it.
he should have.
If he has, that's going to be very good for him if Wisp does have a penalty.
Yeah, he should have served it automatically. So in which case, Wisp does have the penalty deficit. He is 3 seconds more than Relapse, and as a result, Relapse right now sitting in provisional P5 or net P5.
And 56 out of 58 here. What a campaign it's been around Albert Park Unicorn.
Yeah, and Filipich just crossing onto the penultimate lap, and yeah, it's been a great race. These are 100% races, a little bit more relaxed for the drivers. Super fun to watch and commentate, and these close battles, you can see like Relapse and Wisp still being within half a second of each other after 57 laps or 56 for them. Absolutely astonishing. We love to see it, as Remco, I hate to say it, has had another issue, this time out of turn 1.
Wow. That is just... Remco is not going to be thrilled about this race at all. And some drivers, for some reason, they are either very, very good at Albert Park or they definitely struggle. I don't think there's a middle ground. Relapse right now. Tight to the rear of Wisp. Wisp looks for the defense, tries to squeeze him off to the outside, but it's not going to be enough of a squeeze here. Or is it? There goes Relapse! Oh, no! What a tight battle.
At the same time, BTFU retired through turn 12.
Oh, man. The race, as we've said, that keeps on giving, but I think we may have seen it stop now as far as exchanges on circuit, because this timing tower is showing us a very, very, very clear picture of where things may land if penalties don't play a role. Yoda, who was leading this race at one point, is presently under threat from the race leader of being lapped.
Well,
That's
Steph,
how
I'll tell you
dynamic
where-
this race has been.
I'll tell you where penalties might play a role. Fraser has just picked up his 4th 3-second time penalty. So he's at 12 seconds, and Aphrodite is 12.6 behind him as they're on the final lap. So, whether Aphrodite knows this or not will be interesting, but he's within 7/10 of that final podium position, depending on what penalties he's got, actually.
Felipic just took 3 seconds as well. Coming out of 11-12 pushing. It's very, very interesting to see Yoda in 9th position right now, considering he's leading the Tier 1 championship. And Felipic was being led by Yoda previously, and that's just a testament to how dynamic this race has been. It's going to be Felipic in the Williams with a bit of a weave coming across the checkered line now with the win here in Australia. Meanwhile, Microlander is in a fantastic position to collect a 2nd position finish. That is, of course, the Red Bull behind him trying to unlap himself of Swifty. Is he going to get it done? No, he is not. He catches the early flag there with Microlander. What a fantastic drive from him. Up 10 positions here. Fraser across the line now here after a very long drive. He is going to collect 3rd, unless his penalties and Aphrodite's finishing position have anything to say about it. The Renault now on the pit straight to the line. How's it going to go for him? You can see the car of Fraser
he does.
across there, so he takes 5 seconds. Wisp now coming across. Fraser putting up a little bit of a barrier there. Wisp trying to clear it, it would seem, and you hate to see that kind of thing in these online lobbies. I don't like it, but it is what it is. It is what it is, as Vettel said. 7-8 for the Mercedes team. Relapse was very tight to some 5th position points there. Yoda now, the last driver to finish within the points here, it would seem, in that McLaren to the line. How's it going to finish for him? Penalties aren't going to finish things for his race, but he is going to collect an additional point with that fastest lap. A 120.7. Just making sure everyone's aware, hey, I may have been at risk of being lapped, but I pushed and pushed to get away here. So he gets that final point. And Remco says, well, I spent this race spinning. I'm going to jump onto some inters and do a little bit more. 58 laps finished here. Wow. Congratulations to Felipic with the race win here for the 12th round of the Endurance Series. Tons of fun, tons of fun. We hope you guys enjoyed that. If you're new, we do these races every weekend of course, regular Formula 1 running. And, of course, we have 5 different grids of racing action, league racing, strict corner cutting, full damage, intensity that happen every week. This coming week, we have Monza, and I am very excited for that.
Yeah, Microlander there picking up a very well-deserved driver of the day in-game award, Felipic. Another dominant performance from him. We've seen it before elsewhere in the MRL. And yeah, I'm excited to see these guys, or at least some of them, go toe-to-toe around Monza later this week, or next week, I should say.
A unique race. That race had a bit of everything except rain. Except Remco Van Putten on the intermediate tires here. Look at the amount of stops. 6 stops for Remco and BTFU. Wow. No, they had a really tough time today. I feel for them. Felipic, not so difficult of a time. P1 to P1 for him. Microlander from 12th to 2nd. Fantastic from him. Fraser, a reserve, coming in from 5th to 3rd for him. It was just such a great race, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I hope you all in the chat did. We are going to have the full replay for you, of course, on YouTube tomorrow, I do believe, following the real life Formula 1 Grand Prix. I am very excited for that as well. Look at all of the wing changes as we move down the pit stop list here. Wow, just a ton of fun. Unicorn, thank you so much as always, sir, for joining me in the commentary.
Oh, it was absolutely joy to watch, so I'll happily stay up and watch this any day of the week, commentate alongside you. Always great fun, and these 100% races are always that. And just, oh, what a race. Absolutely brilliant stuff. And like I said, those wing changes, despite the reduced damage, that's why we run it. Otherwise, that wouldn't have been quite so entertaining to watch, I don't think.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, very, very excellent race.
We are going to be jumping in for a raid on a member of the F1 2020 community, so I hope you all stick around for a moment to join us in doing that. It's always so much fun to see the reactions from the people we raid when it's a new person. Of course, thank you once again for following along with the action. Of course, you can hit that follow button to not miss any racing. We have a lot of racing happening here, and it's just been intensity all season long, and we hope that it carries on. So, of course, we are going to hit you with some closing messages, and we are going to see you on Tuesday for the first of 5 Italian Grand Prix. We're going to Monza. Thank you so much. Have a great, great night.